The year is 1959 and things are getting ugly on the set of a major motion picture. Ward Bond is in bad shape. He is visibly intoxicated, trembling uncontrollably and completely blanking on his dialogue. The producers have seen enough. They want him off the lot immediately. The Duke himself, John Wayne, has to make the call. He agrees to fire his closest friend from the production. But what seems like a betrayal is actually a calculated move, proving that true loyalty often happens when the cameras stop rolling. Let's set the scene properly. It is March 1959, deep in the heart of Tinseltown at the Warner Brothers Studios complex in California. We are inside stage 7, looking at a typical Western saloon setup. The wood might be plywood and plaster, and the whiskey bottles might be props, but the crisis unfolding behind the scenes is all too real. Between shots, Ward Bond is slumped in his canvas chair. He is 60 years old now, sporting grey hair and hands that won't stop shaking. There is no amount of stage makeup in the world that can mask the wreck he is becoming. He is visibly falling to pieces. The man has been knocking them back since 6 o'clock in the morning, and we aren't talking about strong coffee. He is fueling up on hard liquor, the real stuff. He keeps it stashed everywhere, hidden in a hip flask, tucked away in his trailer and concealed in plain sight. It is the worst kept secret on the lot. Everyone knows what is happening, but nobody dares to speak up. He and Wayne go back 35 years. We are talking about a Bond forged back at the University of Southern California on the gridiron long before they were stars, back when they were just broke kids with big dreams and bruised knuckles. But nostalgia doesn't pay the bills, and right now Bond is a massive liability. The director yells, "Action!" and Bond tries to stand. He sways, stumbles, and somehow manages to shamble toward his mark. The script only calls for 3 simple lines. Dialogue he could usually deliver in his sleep. After decades in westerns, he opens his mouth to speak. But nothing comes out. The words have evaporated in a haze of alcohol between his flask and the lens. Cut! The director lets out a frustrated sigh and walks off. You can hear the hushed conversations starting up with the assistants. Bond is left standing there, isolated in the centre of the set, with 50 crew members awkwardly averting their gaze, pretending they aren't witnessing a legend crash and burn. From the shadows at the edge of the soundstage, John Wayne observes the train wreck. His face is like granite, his jaw clenched tight. You can see a heavy burden in his eyes. This isn't a surprise to him. He has watched the slow decline for months, maybe even years. The drinking has been spiralling and the performances have been getting rockier by the day. He knows the pattern too well. The drunken phone calls at 3 in the morning, Ward sobbing, Ward apologising, Ward swearing he will clean up his act, but the act never gets cleaned up. And now it is all culminated in this moment. A producer, a short guy vibrating with nervous energy, marches over to Wayne. It is that specific walk people have when they are about to drop a bomb. "Duke, we need a word." Wayne already knows what is coming, but before we get back to the confrontation, I have a question for you. Have you ever been in a position where you had to choose between protecting someone you love and letting them face the consequences of their actions? It is arguably the toughest call a person can make. Let me know your experiences in the comments below. Now understand that Ward Bond and John Wayne met way back in 1926. They were teammates on the USC football squad. Just 2 nobodies from nowhere trying to make a name for themselves in the world. Wayne was still known as Marion Morrison back then. He was a lanky, awkward kid, moving props and playing ball just to keep his scholarship. He wasn't talented enough for the professional leagues, and he certainly wasn't rich enough to quit. Bond was a different beast entirely. Huge, loud, a naturally gifted athlete with a distinct mean streak. He was the kind of player who left opponents battered on the field and laughed about it later. By all logic, they should have been enemies. Instead, they became brothers. There was something that linked them together. The same hunger, the same stubbornness, and that same refusal to throw in the towel no matter how bad things got. They took every odd job Hollywood threw at them. Prop work, extra roles, dangerous stunt work. Whatever was available, they tackled it side by side. They split rent on cheap apartments, split their meagre pay, and split the dream. When Wayne finally popped in the movie, Stagecoach Bond was right there with him. It was a small role, just a featured player, but he was there because the Duke insisted on it. And when Bond finally hit it big with Wagon Train, Wayne celebrated harder than anyone, as if it were his own victory. Because in a real sense, it was. That is what 35 years of friendship looks like, showing up for each other, being brothers in every way except blood. But cut back to 1959 and Wayne is standing on a soundstage watching his brother destroy himself. The producer isn't holding back. He can't continue, Duke. You see it. Everyone sees it. The man is drunk. He can't remember a single word. He is costing us money every hour he is on this set. Wayne remains silent. We have to let him go. We need to replace him. The studio execs are already discussing his successor. Finally, Wayne's voice cuts through the noise. It is quiet and final. I will handle it. But Duke, we need to. I said I will handle it. The producer looks at Wayne's face and sees a look that shuts down any further debate. All right, but it needs to happen today. Wayne gives a single nod. The producer walks away, leaving him to it. Wayne is left alone staring at his best friend, who is sitting in a chair surrounded by people who have already written him off as a failure. This is the hardest thing he has ever had to do. Harder than any dangerous stunt, harder than any emotional scene, harder than burying his father or beating cancer or staring down any villain the writers ever invented. Because this villain is his own brother and Wayne is the only one who can stop him. Wayne starts the long walk across the set. Bond spots him coming. He squints his eyes, trying to focus on the approaching figure. They fail. He tries again. Duke? Ward. Wayne stops directly in front of him, towering over the man who has been his wingman for 3 decades. Bond attempts to smile. It is the guilty smile of a man who knows he is busted. Rough morning. I'll be fine for the next take, Duke. Just give me a minute. Wayne shakes his head slowly. No. Bond's expression crumbles. Duke, come on, I can do this. I just need a minute. You need to go home, Ward. A pin drop could be heard on that set. Everyone is listening now, pretending to look busy, but hanging on every word. Bond's voice starts to rise in desperation. You can't do this to me. We've been friends for years. Wayne's voice remains completely level. I am doing this exactly because we are friends. Because nobody else here cares enough to tell you the truth. What truth? Wayne drops down to a crouch eye to eye with Bond. He is close enough to smell the stale whiskey. He is close enough to see the broken blood vessels, the yellowing eyes, and the physical decay. You are killing yourself. The booze, the fistfuls of pills, whatever toxic cocktail you are currently throwing down your throat, it is not just numbing you, it is actively killing you. And I refuse to stand on the sidelines and watch my best friend commit slow motion suicide. Tears well up in Bond's eyes, brimming with desperation. Duke, please don't do this. I need this gig. I have to work. Wayne shakes his head, his expression grim. You need professional help, Ward. Not another call sheet. You need to get clean. Go home and sleep it off. We will figure this out tomorrow when you are sober. Bond stares up at the giant of a man, and the look of betrayal on his face is gut-wrenching. It is raw, unfiltered pain, the kind that cuts deep. I actually thought you were my friend. Wayne's jaw tightens a muscle, twitching in his cheek. I am your friend, Ward. That is exactly why I'm doing this. He turns his back on the pleading man and walks away, the silence deafening. Bond is left sitting there utterly alone with 50 crew members watching the humiliation unfold. It was the longest, heaviest walk Wayne had ever taken. That night's sleep completely evades John Wayne. He lies awake in the dark, staring at the ceiling fan spinning overhead, replaying 35 years of history. He thinks about the football scrimmages, the barroom brawls, the weddings, the funerals, and the thousands of unrecorded moments that forged a brotherhood. But mostly he cannot shake the image of Ward's face, the sheer devastation, the look of a man who had just been stabbed in the back by the one person he trusted to protect him. Intellectually, Wayne knows he made the right call. He had to stop the bleeding, but emotionally, doing the right thing feels like he just twisted a knife into his own chest. By 6 o'clock the next morning, Wayne is already behind the wheel. He drives out to the valley, pulling up to Ward Bond's modest house. It is a small place far removed from the glitz of Beverly Hills. It isn't a mansion. It is just a house. Ward never gave a damn about the luxury lifestyle. Wayne pounds on the front door. Silence. He knocks again, louder this time. A voice croaks from inside. Go away. Ward's voice sounds wrecked, muffled by walls and misery. Wayne ignores the command and tries the handle. It turns. He steps inside, greeted by a living room plunged in darkness, heavy curtains blocking out the California sun. The place is a disaster zone. Empty liquor bottles clutter every flat surface. The air smells stale, carrying the scent of a man who has given up. Ward is slumped in an armchair, frozen in the same spot he was in yesterday. He wears the same clothes, sports the same shattered expression. Wayne looms in the doorway, letting the silence hang for a moment. Finally, Ward breaks it. You come back to finish the job. Kick me while I'm down. Wayne steps fully into the room, pushing aside some debris to sit on the couch opposite his friend. I came here to talk, Ward. Ward scoffs, looking away. There is nothing left to talk about. You fired me, Duke, in front of the whole cast and crew. You humiliated me, Wayne corrects him instantly. I pulled you off a set where you were about to embarrass yourself permanently. There is a difference. Wayne leans in his presence, filling the cramped room. No, it is not the same thing. He pauses, measuring his next words. Yesterday I took you off the silver screen. Today, I'm here to make sure I don't lose you from my life entirely. Ward finally looks up, his eyes bloodshot and face puffy from crying. What is that supposed to mean? It means you are sick, Ward. This isn't just letting loose. The drinking is a disease and it is eating you alive. You need help. Ward lets out a short, bitter laugh. Help. Sure, what kind of help fixes this? My career is in the toilet. My wife walked out on me. My own kids don't call. What exactly am I saving myself for at this point? Wayne's voice remains rock steady, an anchor in the storm. You save yourself for the sake of staying alive, for being here tomorrow morning, for giving yourself a fighting chance to repair the things that are broken. Ward shakes his head violently. You just don't get it, Duke. You are the golden boy. You've never failed at anything in your life. You have no idea what this kind of darkness feels like. Wayne goes quiet, letting the accusation hang in the air. Then he speaks softly. Do you remember the year 1930? Ward blinks, confused by the pivot. I was 23 years old. The big trail had just bombed at the box office. Fox tore up my contract. I couldn't get arrested in this town, let alone cast. For 5 long years, I scraped by, making B-movies in Poverty Row that nobody saw. I thought about packing it in and quitting every single day. Ward stays silent, listening. Do you know what kept me in the game? What you did. You kept showing up at my door, dragging me to auditions I didn't want to go to, telling me it was going to turn around. You believed in my future when I didn't even believe in my present. Wayne leans closer, intense. Now it is my turn to return the favour. Ward's face crumbles, the angry mask finally shattering into grief. I don't know how to stop Duke. I have tried to quit. I just can't do it. Wayne reaches into his jacket pocket, retrieving a folded piece of paper and presses it into Ward's hand. This is a specialised facility in Arizona. They deal with exactly what you are going through. I have already spoken to the head doctor there. They have a bed ready for you tomorrow. Ward looks down at the brochure, his hands trembling uncontrollably. Duke, I can't afford a place like this. Wayne's voice brooks no argument. You are not paying for a dime of it. I am. Ward looks up, shocked. Duke, no, I can't let you do that. That is too much. I am not asking for your permission. I am telling you the plan. You are going to Arizona. You are going to get sober. And when you come back clean, we will figure out the rest of your life together. Ward whispers, terrified. What if it doesn't work? Then we try again and again, as many times as it takes until it sticks. Ward stares at him, bewildered by the generosity. Why would you go to these lengths for me? Wayne stands up, walks to the window and looks out at the rising morning sun. Because you are my brother. We might not share blood, but we are brothers by choice. 35 years of showing up for each other every single day. He turns back to face the broken man in the chair. I fired you because you needed to be fired, because letting you stay would have enabled the thing that's killing you. But I am not walking away. I am not abandoning you to this darkness. I am standing right here because that is what brothers do when the chips are down. His voice drops to a compassionate rumble. I removed you from the picture, Ward. But I did not remove you from my life. Never from my life. The room falls silent. Ward's face is wet with tears he can no longer hold back. He nods, a singular jerky motion. Barely audible, he whispers, "Okay." Wayne nods back, a rare smile touching his lips. "Good, go pack a bag. I am driving you to the airport myself. It makes you think. Have you ever stayed loyal to someone long after the rest of the world wrote them off? That specific brand of friendship is incredibly rare in this world. It costs you something: money, time, emotional energy, but it is the only kind of connection that actually matters." Ward Bond spent 3 grueling months in Arizona. They were difficult, painful months. It was the kind of deep internal work that breaks a man down completely before it can build him back up into something solid. Wayne visited him every 2 weeks religiously. He drove 6 hours each way, sat with Ward, talked about everything and nothing, and just listened. Ward finally came home in July of 1959. He was sober, a bit shaky perhaps, but sober. He never reclaimed his spot as a leading man. The industry is brutal and had moved on to younger faces and fresher names. That is just Hollywood. But he worked. He took character parts, small supporting roles and guest spots on television shows. He rebuilt his dignity brick by brick. Wayne made the calls, pulled the strings, and ensured Ward had options, not charity, but genuine opportunity. And in this town, there is a world of difference between the two. It was November 1960 when a bombshell hit Hollywood. Ward Bond was gone. A massive heart attack took him out instantly at just 57 years old. The tragic irony, he was completely sober when it happened. He had managed to stay clean for 18 solid months, the longest dry spell of his entire adult life. Then came the phone call that every friend dreads. John Wayne picked up the receiver at 2 a.m, and his world shattered. The Duke didn't break down. He didn't shed a tear then, nor did he weep at the service or in front of the press, but insiders say the change was instant and undeniable. The light in his eyes simply faded away. An invisible, crushing weight settled on his shoulders that day, a burden he would carry until his own end. Standing at the funeral, Wayne's voice was heavy with grief as he declared, "Ward Bond was more than a friend. He was my brother. For 35 long years, that man stood right beside me," Wayne told the mourners. "Through the dizzying highs of success and the crushing lows of failure, through every curveball life threw our way, he was there." Wayne paused, struggling to compose himself as he revealed a painful secret. Near the very end, he confessed, "I was forced to make an impossibly difficult choice regarding our friendship. I had to cut him off from something he dearly loved because I knew letting him stay would have been his death sentence. It was without a doubt the hardest thing I have ever had to do." His voice cracked with raw emotion as he pushed through the memory. "But make no mistake, I never abandoned him," Wayne insisted fiercely. "I couldn't do that because real friendship isn't just about the parties and the good times. Anybody can show up when the champagne is flowing and life is easy. True friendship is about standing your ground when things get ugly, when the applause dies down, and when those cameras stop rolling. It is about staying put when every other person has walked out the door." He gazed down at the casket eyes full of sorrow. "I may have taken Ward off the screen for his own good, but I never once cut him out of my life. That is what truly mattered. That is what has always mattered." He stepped back from the podium, leaving the crowd in stunned silence. The service moved on, but Wayne's brutal honesty hung in the air. He had defined the true cost of loyalty and love. Years later, during a candid interview, the topic of Ward Bond came up again. The reporter asked him about the late actor. Wayne didn't hesitate. "He was the best friend I ever had, bar none," he stated firmly, even with all the chaos, the drinking and the trouble. Wayne's expression turned stone cold. Actually, it was because of the problems. Anyone can be your pal when you're on top of the world. Ward was my friend when I was hitting rock bottom. When I desperately needed someone, he showed up. So when he needed someone to save him, I was right there. That is just how the deal works. The interviewer pressed, what was the biggest lesson he taught you? Wayne fell silent, reflecting on decades of brotherhood. That the applause, it means nothing. The trophies and awards, they don't mean a thing. The fame is worthless. The only thing that counts is who is standing there when your world falls apart. Who stays when the rest of the town leaves you behind. He looked the interviewer dead in the eye. Ward taught me that real friendship only begins after the applause stops. When the final curtain falls, when the studio lights cut out and you are sitting all alone in the dark, that is the moment you find out who really loves you. And I loved that man. To the very end and long after. If this story of unshakable loyalty touched your heart, go ahead and smash that subscribe button and give this video a like. Drop a thought in the comments section below. What is your take on the way John Wayne stuck by Ward Bond through the darkness? We would love to read your perspective.